I want to go to Salem.
Yeah, I was just going to say, because you were mentioning about what an ambitious player he is. And I think against the Nimzo, he has chosen the most ambitious line for white as well. And we see, take us through this opening, Danny.
Okay, so it's Nimzo Indian and the Zamish variation, where white spends a whole tempo and basically gives black exactly what he wants, which is to take these pawns. So why is he doing this? Well, these lines are super sharp. F3, it is, as I said, he's an ambitious player, and he's playing maybe the most ambitious line. He wants to build this big center. This is a very old line. Pawn takes pawn. We saw that in the Botvinnik Tal World Championship match in 1960, for example. We have instead knight takes d5, also a very old line, very popular in Soviet circles in the 1950s, 1960s. And this is a lot of fun. Yeah, very often, yes, white's king ends up here. And that position is on the board.
And Danny, you know, I want to ask you here, because I think for a lot of us who are not familiar with these Zamish Nimzo lines, seeing king f2 on the board can often be surprising, because what we really want to do is go short castle. So can you just explain why white wants to put his king on f2 and why it's so safe there instead of wasting time to go short castle? What's the point of putting the king on f2?
Well, we've got a beautiful dark square bishop protecting the king, and of course, as black has exchanged off that dark square bishop, then this one on e3 is actually very, very safe. And it means that, well, because the king is on f2 and it's no longer check, I mean, this is very basic, but, you know, after black takes here, then of course there's no check, and we're going to win that piece. So, yeah. but it's a really interesting tussle. So obviously, two bishops, we love the bishops, they're really strong, but black has control over the c5 square. White does not have pawns to drive away that knight. So it's a fascinating struggle, and this pawn chain, very important to white, because it means that bishop is sometimes shut out of the game. But yeah, I have to say it is very tricky, and of course that with the king on f2, it means that, you know, there are other options open to black to try and upset white's play. Queen d6. Wow.
And I think that's very important, because white just can't afford to play very slowly in this position. A natural developing move like knight e2 was just impossible. Let's just back up and show why white needs to play very concrete in this position. Knight e2 would run into rook d8, attacking that queen, and then a very deadly knight d3 check. You don't want to allow that. So if you make a move like king f2, if you go for the Samish, you need to have some very clear ideas. Queen d6, attacking that knight on c5. Knight a4, Wesley not even taking a second to just accept that pawn on a4, which honestly looks very scary to me, because it just walks into this pin on the a file. And after knight a4, we also take a look at the clock situation, Danny. Wesley's got almost 16 minutes. It looks like he's the one who's counter-surprised Salem in this opening.
Yeah, listen, I'm staggered by knight a4. You know, you really need nerves of steel to play a move like that. You know,
or really great prep.
Or perhaps good prep, which with Wesley is, of course, quite possible. But I think the point is that black does not need to take that pawn. You know, there are safe moves here. You could play b6. There is. I don't see anything wrong with b6. What about knight a6? I mean, these are sensible moves. So both players absolutely going for it. Knight e2 on the board. Bishop d7. Of course, it speeds things up. The bishop defends the knight. I have to say, I don't know. I would be slightly concerned if I were Salem in this position, because it's going to take a long time to unravel on the king side. And in the meantime, well, you know, black has got things going pretty quickly. h4, wow. Okay, here we go. And so this pawn Okay, that's how you bring the rook into play.
That's how you do it. And that's exactly what he did in round 1 against Hui Fan as well. You remember he with black went for h5. I think Salem loves the Harry the h pawn. It's just what he wants to do. He wants to go h5 with black and h4, h5 with white.
You're not kidding. Yeah, I mean, this is amazing. I mean, of course, if you get in h6, then, you can conquer these dark squares. And if h6 here, well, that gives white a little something to bite on. I mean, is this too crazy to contemplate? G4, G5, but also maybe we can
rook
just
h3 maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Just bring the rook in and attack on the dark squares, because this queen has kind of access, coming around here. And don't forget this bishop. Wow, very interesting. So, my sort of gut feeling is that black must have a reasonable position here, but it takes a little bit of time to unravel, fascinating position. And of course, this pin is still on. So, wow.
Danny, I would be so terrified playing black here that the move that I want to make is try and trade off that queen on d6, because I fear being checkmated. So queen c7 is a move that comes to mind, getting out of that pin that you're talking about. Also just hoping that you trade off the queens, because if it goes into an endgame, then that extra pawn is going to start counting. Yeah. Then that's really going to matter a lot.
Yeah, okay. Looks very sensible. Let me see. I'm trying to find a way of bringing that queen over. Okay, so if I play here, what happens?
Not sure yet. So the point is that after knight c6, you get your queen to g5, and that's actually where you want it. You're also hitting that knight on a4. So queen g5 or queen h4 are the two moves that come to mind here. Oh, he goes for queen c7. He goes for queen c7.
Okay, so I mean, I was thinking in this position now, there's a tempo here. So after
knight e5, maybe trying to get in knight d3 check.
Wow, now it is really hotting up. And if I play here, I'm just going to ignore.
I'm not sure what's going on. I'm scared.
The king just drops back, and then we're attacking here. So yeah, my vote in this position is for queen e7. And
definitely not going to trade queens here. I mean, you don't give up that a4 pawn and then trade queens. You just don't do that.
No. So queen e7. I mean, game on. Yeah, this is absolutely super. And like I said, this is what I've seen from Salem in the past. He's such an exciting player, but Wesley is playing so quickly. I should say this is the position on the board. The queen is still on d6.
Danny, I am sorry to interrupt, but there is some crazy stuff going on in the Anish Firuza game. We're going to come back to this one and see how I see that. What is happening here?
Oh my God! Listen. How on earth did they get there?
How on earth and why on earth did they get here?
Okay, queen c7, queen d2. Oh, here we go. Okay, h6, stopping white playing h6. g4, get on with it. Come on, Salem. Here we go. b5. Okay.
Oh wow.
He took on h6. Fantastic.
And I think the reason for that, oh my God, you sacrifice one piece, then what is this? And also, I think the whole point is like, look at black's pieces. Every single piece on the queen side, when you see that, you want to strike on the king side. And this is classic Salem to go bishop h6 and knight d4.
So if pawn takes, well, the queen is starting to have fun. And let's not forget about the h pawn. So I guess that's his idea. So, okay, this happened. He is a piece down. But f4, wow! So he's just.
This is insane.
This is fantastic, and okay, this is why I was saying I was so excited to see him in the tournament, because he's playing with a free hand. He's such a spontaneous player. He just thinks, okay, I need to activate this bishop. I'm giving up a pawn. I need to get my rook into play, and well. Can he get away with this? I have to say, my first feeling is I'm a little bit worried for white. So, for example, if we play knight e5, I'm going to be generous and give up this rook in the corner if white wants it. because that knight on e5 looks very solid to me.
Knight e5. So the line that comes to mind here is to trade on g7 and pick up that rook. I mean, first let's just talk about Salem, the amount of pieces and pawns he sacrificed in this game. He took with the bishop on h6, then he sacrificed a knight, then he sacrificed this f4 pawn, all for piece activity. That is some very creative chess that we are seeing here. But he needs to also pick up the pace because he's down to 24 seconds. And in this position, we are looking at knight e5, trading on g7, picking up that rook on a8, a line that might happen. Wesley definitely having a think on this. So queen g7, king g7, bishop 8, rook 8. And I have to say that black looks good here because you've got this knight on e5, which is stopping, and the rook on e1 and the rook on d1. There are no ways to get into black's camp here. That knight on e5 and the knight on b6 stopping all activity on the 7th rank. He's gone for it, knight e5 on the board. And he goes rook e5. Salem doesn't care about pieces. Do not try this at home.
No, do try this at home. This is fun. This is what the people want. Okay, but seriously, I think this is the only way to go for Salem, because if black stabilizes there, that knight on e5, as you say, those knights look really good. I think he has to do something like this. Otherwise, I think he's just, this is his best chance.
This is insane. He goes f6. What is happening here?
Okay.
And he's a full rook down. He's an entire rook down. It's very hard to believe that queen g6, hg6. Yes, those two pawns are on the 6th rank, looking dangerous, but I don't believe they can be enough.
This is sensational. Well, okay, he's got to exchange queens on g6, but...
And he goes rook d8. I like that move. Instead of moving away with the other rook, he first challenges the rook on the open file. Rook h1 comes to mind because you, of course, can't trade the rooks. That would just be dead lost after rook h1. But you still don't have a threat. You're still not threatening f7. That's king g7.
This worries me. I think this is probably just losing. Yeah, rook d2. Worst case, I think you play rook takes bishop and then knight back, and I think it's all over. So, for example, in this position, well, once the king goes back, well, okay, there you can just do this. You can trade rooks, but yeah, worst case, you can just take here and play the knight back to d7, g7. G7.
Wait, what is going on? He's played the move king e1. Can someone tell Salem to stop sacrificing pieces like this?
Wow, king e1.
What is that move, Danny?
So after this, then he's got g7. No, he hasn't got g7. No.
G7, just king f7, and you kind of get out of the way of everything.
The rook
h7 is the idea. So let's just keep up with the live board that we have. So the bishop is snapped up, and he goes rook h7. Yeah, this is not going to work.
Okay, so the king is going to run to d8, and then g7.
But g7 doesn't threaten anything.
No, I think it's gone.
Wow.
So
all right,
I would love it if Salem were rewarded for his bravery, but yeah, knight d7 is game over, I think.
This was a lot of sacrifices. Definitely a very brave game, but yeah, it looks like this one was. And this is Wesley's strong point, You can just never unnerve him like this. Unless there's a solid foundation for all these sacrifices, Wesley's just going to snap up all your pieces and then find the right defense.
Yeah. Okay. Knight d7, it's gone. Listen, we need to get back to Anish against Ali Reza because...
That's over already. That's over already because Anish actually won that game, and we'll have a look at